We are in Zainabad right now. Zainabad is a village in the Seraa Taluka in Surendranagar, district of Gujarat state, India.
The taboo of menstruation runs deep due to some traditional, ancient, cultural, and societal ideas, especially in our country, India. Many who go through menstruation feel uncomfortable sharing their issues regarding it. Some may think of having periods as unholy, dirty, or even disgusting. This taboo on the talk of menstruation results in the lack of knowledge on how to properly take sanitary precautions during periods. Without that knowledge, there are many diseases and infections one can contract, some of which may be life-threatening.
The Laal Project is carried out every year by a group of MGIS students. This project has been going on for the last 5 years, and the main aim for this project is to eliminate the taboo of menstrual hygiene and menstruation in rural girls of Gujarat in the region of Zainabad.
So, to the school we went to, I would say it was quite progressive from what I expected. The girls there wanted to talk more about sanitation while you are in menstruation. However, there was a lack of information, I must say, because they didn't know a lot of stuff. For example, they didn't know that these are the diseases which can happen if you use cloth, and these are the benefits of sanitary napkins. And of course, they were very shy. It was a taboo topic for them. They wouldn't really talk about this topic with guys. So that was a problem, but I think they were much more progressive than what I expected them to be.
This was quite difficult, but then when we thought up of new activities that they could do, such as song games and charades, they opened up quite more than we expected them to, and they were actually really enthusiastic and happy to talk with us and learn what we had to offer.
Situation was much more different than ours. I feel like we are way more forward thinking than them, but at the same time it's important to note that they weren't shutting off their doors on when it came to this the menstruation cycle. I think they were, although they were way behind, they had their doors open to this information, and I think it was very progressive that way.
અમાર છોડીઓ કામ કરતી હોય અત્યારે તો ઘાઘરા નહીં પહેલા આવા ઘાઘરા અને તો એ તો આવી પિયારે એટલે આપણે એમ કે બટા બહાર જવાનું હોય ભાઈ હોય બાપા હોય તું બદલી વાર પછી એવું ડર બરો પાણી તોય વાર રહેશું
અને તમે મહિનો ચાલતો થાય તમે રસોઈને બધું જ કરો
આમાં ભવા ભટેરો ના કરા દે 5 દાડે સુલે ના
5 દાડે તો મને એક જ રૂમમાં બેસી રહેવાનું
ના ના કામ કરવાનું આવા ગોદડા હાંકેલવાના વાહણ ગવાના વારવાનું એક રાંધવા નહીં દેવાનું એટલે આદમી અમારા માતાજીને અડ હોય ને આપણે ખાઈ લઈ બૈરા પણ એના પપ્પા એના ભાઈ પવન આવતો હોય ને ખવડાવાય ને
પૂજા પાઠ કરતા હોય ને પછી તમે મંદિર બી ના
કઈ બચે બિહારી ના દે
મંદિરમાં ના જવાય
મંદિર
Hello, my name is Lissa Chazot, and I'm delighted to be a part of this documentary on the Laal Project. So this is a project that's quite close to my heart. It's an IBDP CAS project that was conceptualized back when I was the CAS coordinator. It's one of those discussions that happened in the corridor when I bumped into the student. We just crossed randomly and had this extremely meaningful conversation about what she wants to do in her life and how she can align the CAS project to her life goals and what the kind of impact that she wants to leave behind in the world. What's really beautiful about the Laal project is that it started off with the student who was passionate about this cause, the cause of creating awareness, menstrual awareness amongst rural girls and young women, and provide the sanitary napkins and underwear, eco-friendly sanitary napkins in fact, to the target population. And to have one of the founding stones of this program is that there were a couple of important elements that were almost set in stone right from the start. Number one is that it had to be sustainable. We wanted to ensure that there was a beautiful idea behind, in this concept, and we didn't want this to die off with just one batch graduating and this one student graduating. We wanted this to get a life of its own and continue beyond the student. So when we conceptualized it, we instituted certain factors to integrate, certain points to be careful about, so that it would be handed down very easily to the next batch, and so on and so forth, and that batch would pass it on to the next. So that's number one. Number two, we wanted to have an eco-friendly solution. As you all know, sanitary pads are not necessarily the most eco-friendly. Unfortunately, it's a fact, and so we went looking for solutions that would not harm the environment, and different batches have found different solutions. Some of the sanitary pads have been made from different fibers, whether it's banana leaves or other fibers. So that is the input that they have brought in addition to, of course, the customization and the personalization of the Laal program according to what fits with their prerogatives and their ideals and their passion, and of course their skill set. So that was a very important element that was factored into every single Laal project that happened. The other one was the ethical consideration of ensuring that the relationship between the MGIS students who were bringing this to, it is a taboo subject, let's face it, especially in certain areas of the world. This is a very difficult subject to broach, and hence we ensured that one of the important principles that students would consider is the ethical consideration of ensuring a healthy and respectful relationship with the target population, which was young women and teenagers in rural Gujarat. And the last very important point was to avoid having a very scattered, instead of trying to do a little bit everywhere. The idea was to have a more focused approach and really work on this a specific region, and have more long-term impact, more meaningful conversations, deeper relationships, and build that rapport with the community in one location. So these were some of the guiding principles. In the beginning, we tried to in fact, one of the first batches, we tried to have a working relationship with an orphanage, wherein there was also a center for women who had been molested and faced very traumatic conditions in their lives. Some of them had children born from very difficult situations, and considering also the sensitivity with which you have to deal with such scenarios, what was decided in terms of the kind of impact that the students wanted to really have, also I'm not finding the words really, but yeah, after several batches embracing the Laal project and making it their own and bringing in their own touch, what was the consensus that emerged from the different editions of the Laal project over the years, including the editions that were inherited and done beautifully by Priyanka Goswami, who is the current CAS coordinator, was that we would focus on the salt pan workers for several reasons. Number one, because it's a community that does not have access to a lot of resources, and we wanted to bring those resources to them to the best of our capacity, of course. And the second was a school called Zubaida Begum School, because every year there would be a different batch that had to be trained and informed about the menstrual cycle, etc. And hence it was a perfect fit on many different from the standpoint of different elements, whether it's logistics or whether it's a challenge, or whether it's in terms of the number of people impacted. Because if you spread yourself too thin, then you're not able to have the impact that you want. So what's another very interesting element of the Laal Project is that it's a project wherein there are two elements involved. There is the Laal Project itself, but we also have a fundraiser, okay? And it's usually classmates who are interested in the Laal Project but are not necessarily interested in the logistical aspect of the Laal Project, and hence they undertake what we call the Tara concert, wherein the creativity of the students is emphasized, is put into value, and students and different performers have a platform to showcase their performance, whether it is a song or a dance or any other thing that they would like to showcase to the community. And so the fundraiser sort of plugs into the Laal Project and brings in that sustainable component, in addition to the fact that the previous batch hands over the information, the resources, the training, everything to the next batch, and the alumni students from previous Laal projects who remain passionate advocates of the Laal Project join hands with the students to pass on this information to students who would be taking up the Laal Project in the coming year. And hence, what's really nice is that with this project, there have been some very transformative experiences for students. It has been really a platform for many different kinds of collaborations. Some groups have pushed the envelope and done performances on a professional stage. Some groups have pushed the envelope and maybe focused on developing coordination skills and have been absolutely impeccable on that front. Some other groups have focused on finding the absolute best solutions to ensure that it is eco-friendly, so on and so forth. So each group has brought its own stamp of identity and its own flavor to the Laal Project, and that it's really been beautiful to see how it's been handed over from one batch to the other, and it continues to live on, and it's almost a part of the school's I don't know, I would like to say culture, but I don't know if that's the right term. So I'm very happy that with the Laal Project, the students have the structure and the opportunity and the blessing, I think that's the right word, the blessing to come into contact and to collaborate and to work with one another and with people that we want to bring this information to. So on that note, I would like to conclude and thank everyone who's been involved in the Laal Project, whether it's teachers or students, at any stage of the process, whether it was conceptualizing the project or whether it was adapting it to the needs of different populations, or whether it was creating the most amazing documentation on this project, or bringing in amazing ideas for the training module to create awareness amongst the students of Zubaida Begum School, or bringing in their sensibility, and their gentleness, their empathy. I think there's a lot to this, and there's a lot of learning that is involved. There's a lot of takeaways for everyone involved at every step of the way. It's a great mirror for our students, and also it's something that touches. This is a project that touches you. It doesn't leave you immune, and if you're not engaged, you fall out of the project, or you sort of choose to remove yourself from the project, because it does take a lot of effort, it does take a lot of passion and a lot of compassion. So bravo to all the teams that have worked on this project. A big thank you, an enormous thank you to Dhanraj and to the Zubaida Begum School organizing committee for allowing us, opening the doors to us, for trusting the MGIS community to deliver this program for many years with their community. Bye.
Hi, my name is Dhvmidh and I'm from the alumni batch of 2019. During my DP class, I was able to lead two wonderful projects: the Laal Project, which works on menstrual health and hygiene, and Ruhaniyat, which is a fundraising concert we organized to raise as much money as possible to fund the Laal Project. From its conception in 2016, Laal has been able to distribute over 16,000 pads across Gujarat. During our particular batch, we were working in Zainabad. We worked with the Zubaida Begum School, as well as going door to door to all the salt pan workers who needed sanitary pads. We didn't want to just distribute pads and just give it as that is just a one-time thing. We wanted to give them the knowledge that they require to sustainably use pads over generations. To do so, we held workshops to teach them why a sanitary pad is more effective as a menstrual health product as opposed to the methods that they are used to, such as cloth. During this workshop, we also touched upon some key issues that we are passionate about, such as good touch and bad touch, and the difference between the two, which we felt is really important for these girls to know. When we chose what kind of pads to give these women, we took into account that Zainabad already has a lot of waste management issues. So to do so and to tackle that issue as well, and to not create another problem while solving one, we gave these women biodegradable pads that were made out of banana fiber, so they would just decay over time and wouldn't add to the waste management issues of Zainabad. What I'm really proud of about this Laal project is that it's a legacy that still goes on. It's been started in 2016 and it's still very much alive and thriving. So that is something that I'm very proud of personally. In terms of organizing the concert too, I learned a lot through all the processes. Organizing a concert of that scale requires meticulous planning and organization, and it really requires you to timeline and chart these things. And while you do so, and while you try to control and manage everything, something or the other will go wrong. And I think that too is a very big learning process, because you realize how to be on your feet and deal with all these problems that come on your way. So I think that that's been a very key learning for me while organizing this concert. It was definitely a night to remember, and one thing that we did, which I felt was really special, is that we gave a tulsi plant to every person who attended the concert. So when that plant grows, they could still remember the concert that they attended. In terms of any advice that I would give to the future people who are continuing all these projects and doing all these new projects, I would say that always think of problems in a holistic manner instead of thinking of them as isolated problems. If we had thought of sanitary health as an isolated problem, we would just give them cheap sanitary pads that are available in the market. But we didn't do so. We went for an alternative of biodegradable pads because it is more sustainable. So don't just think of a problem and a solution. Don't think of it as such a binary. Think of it as a very interconnected ecosystem. Think of it as the larger effects and repercussions of the actions that you're doing. So when you're creating an impact, you want to make sure that you are not adding any other problem to that system. So ensure that you're looking at it in a very holistic manner when you're looking at any problem that you're trying to solve. Another advice that I would give is that be really passionate about it. CAS is about what you love. It's about furthering something that you feel very deeply about. If you don't feel very deeply about it, you will not be able to spend those amount of hours, that amount of time that you require to give that project. So make sure that you pick something that is really, really deep to you and that means a lot to you, because only then will you be able to have a very immersive experience as well as make the impact that CAS always makes.
So my name is Spandan and I'm from the class of 2019, and I was responsible for organizing the concert with Dhvmidh. So the concert is essentially a backbone for the project of Laal. What the concert tries to do is that it tries to create a community that is engaged in, giving money to Laal. So when you have something as a scale that is as big as Laal, it requires a lot of funding. So what the concert tried to do was it tried to engage the audience enough, connect the audience emotionally to the project so that they would be willing enough to spend from their own pockets. So we didn't want it to be a project where people are just passive observers. They see the concert, they buy the tickets, and then they donate something. We wanted them to be involved as a part of Laal. So we try to integrate a lot of sustainability elements into our project. So one of the best examples that I feel that we included in the project was that we made sure that we had plants for each and every member in the audience. Obviously, when somebody is donating, you want them to feel a part of the community, and you want them to feel that they're not just donating to something that is as far as Zainabad where they would never be a part of it. So when we gifted a plant, we gave it with a thought that just like you have contributed to our project, we are contributing something to you that will eventually grow into something larger. So that was something symbolic that we tried to achieve through the concert. As far as my graduation goes, once I graduated, I think the concert always stayed with me, in the sense that it had a lot of elements like time management. It had a lot of elements that was about social interaction and just being with the community. So when you are choosing your performances, you need to make sure that no member feels left out. It was about having a diverse space. So when I go out in the world, I'm able to see these connections, and I'm also able to see how important time management is, because the Laal project required that the concert finished in a particular time so these girls could go to Zainabad and do their work. And there was obviously a lot of uncertainty involved with the project. Like, if you have something like a concert where you're selling tickets, you don't actually know how many tickets you're going to sell. You don't know how much money you're going to raise in the concert. So that element of uncertainty is something that I've learned to cope with over time. It was really interesting for me to also interact with so many different performers from outside, and what that does is that you get a picture of what is happening around the world and how willing people are to donate to a certain cause. Other than that, if I were to give some guiding tips, what they would be is you need to make sure that the audience is not a passive listener of the concert. You need to make sure that they're involved in your cause as much as you are. So the best way to go about this probably is that they need to be felt that they need to do something. So one thing you can obviously do is that tell them about why this project matters, or maybe have interesting workshops where they can be a part of what Laal does. It's all about finding the right people from the community. Donations don't always have to be monetary. People can give their time. Maybe if somebody wants to take a workshop on sanitation and women safety, let them do that. So the Laal Project can have multiple social facets, and the concert is just one of them. Something else, some difficulties I faced in this project was obviously that we really didn't know how to go about setting up a concert that is for a charity. Most concerts are about entertainment. So bringing in a social element to that concert was something that I found really difficult to do. So what we tried to do was have a very conscious selection of our performances, conscious selection of who is performing, and a very conscious selection of where whatever we do, what are the repercussions of it. So I hope that helps, and please do the best you can to involve everybody in MGIS.